Great. So just by a show of hands here, who's familiar with the concept of big data as it relates to businesses? Who here? All right, we got a couple people. So for those who aren't familiar with the concept, sort of it is what it sounds like. Organizations today, they're producing massive amounts of data very fast in all sorts of different forms. So as difficult it is for organizations to sort of store this information, analyze it, search it, it's even more difficult for them to get anything meaningful out of it. So Sommerlink was founded really with the mandate of helping organizations leverage big data technology. And as part of this, we assembled a multidisciplinary team. I'm not sure whether we're rock stars. I guess we'll figure that out. Our chair has 30 years of experience in enterprise IT. Our CEO, Andrew Ford, is down there. He's an engineer. Our chief software architect is also, he's an engineer, and then there's myself. So we sort of had a mandate. We also sort of have a team. The next thing we need to figure out was sort of the product of what we were going to start with. So what we did, the first thing we did, we just went out and we started talking to people. We had lots of coffee chats, lots of conversations. And we tried to talk to people in knowledge-intensive businesses. And so the people that we ended up talking most to were actually lawyers. And really what we try to do is try to get an understanding of what their pain points are, what they're dealing with. So just to give you an overview of sort of the Canadian legal system, we operate in a common law system based on precedent and jurisdiction. So for a lawyer in Canada, if they're trying to understand precedent and jurisdiction, what they do is they have sort of a combination of internal databases and external resources that they can use. Most commonly, Quick Law, Westlaw, Canley. Quick Law and Westlaw, they're provided by Thomson Reuters and LexisNexis, so they're privately available, or private. Canley's publicly available. Now the thing about these things is you can search them by keyword, by text, but at least in our opinion, they don't give you anything particularly intelligent. And there have been a lot of advances in sort of big data technology, particularly around what's called natural language processing, which allows you to take a large, subset of just, case files, things like that, anything written in, normal language, and sort of synthesize it, look at it, analyze it. So what we've come up with is an application called Automata Law, which is really what's called a computational search engine for lawyers. What that means is it allows for natural language queries. So rather than looking at just words, you're actually going to ask it questions. What it does when you ask it a question, it generates a visual statistical dashboard. So it sort of takes that question, takes all the cases, and sort of applies that question to the cases. And also from this, it allows lawyers to drill down and sort of access what are called case digests to better sort of understand the relationship between principles and sort of reasoning in judgment. So to give you an example, this is actually one that was proposed to us by a lawyer, was, for example, when does parliamentary privilege apply to a legislative official? Just as an example, right? So you're just doing that kind of search. This is our sort of proposed user interface. Sorry to violate Jad's rule. This is like way too much text, but this is an example of what it looks like. Maybe only the lawyers here are going to appreciate what this is.
But that's your target market.
What's that?
That's your target market.
Absolutely. So this is something obviously Quick Law, Westlaw are not going to give you. So to give you an example on the left, we have taken all the cases and we have basically statistically stratified them based on things like the ruling, frequently used legislation, frequently cited cases, principles, frequency. We can also do judges, all sorts of things, jurisdiction, etc. And then what it allows you to do is for example, in this case, we selected a frequently cited case. It allows you to pull up a case digest. So really quickly, basically get an understanding of the facts that were involved, the principles, the legal principles, and also the reasoning. In this case, it's a fairly well-known case, the New Brunswick broadcasting test, so this was sort of why it was proposed to us. The real indication for this, when we believe the application, sort of twofold. Firstly, for large law firms, it's their associates that do the majority of the searching and then sort of have to show the results to the partners. And also for sort of sole proprietorships or smaller firms where their partners do spend a lot of time searching because they do the preliminary searching because they don't have associates. So that's sort of where we see the majority of our users. So where we are, where it's our ask, where we are today, really we're a little bit different. We're using a sort of an iterative software and company approach. We intend to finance via revenue. We intend to really sort of develop a product and continue to develop both the product and the company through our customers. To date, we have an index of commonly used case sources. So we don't have sort of the nitty-gritty, but we do have a large number of things. We're sort of working on our secondary algorithms. We got our first ones going. But most importantly, what we're working on right now, we have an April alpha launch that we're planning. We're starting to execute a memorandum of understandings with potential customers. We actually got our first MOU signed on Tuesday with a boutique law firm here in Toronto. There's a couple other sole practitioners we're talking to, and also One of our first actual interests came from a 50-person employment law firm here in Toronto. So still a little small, but really our ask here today, and we came here knowing that there would be lawyers in the audience, was we're hoping to get customers because we know that we're going to build this thing based on the feedback that we get from our customers. So that is the presentation. Thank you. And actually, I would invite for the question period Andrew to come up here in case anybody has any technical questions. So the lawyers.
Yeah, I'll get, I have, it looks
Absolutely.
really interesting.
Okay.
And I think that one slide that good old Jad would typically not like
Yeah.
was compelling because it says, I can see how an associate would go, oh,